Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today I have a little video about transplanting milkweed. Now as you can see, these milkweed look very sad, and that's because they are most likely going to die at the top this year because they are transplanted milkweeds. I got these from a friend who I was collecting some mulch from. These were growing in their mulch pile. Obviously, I was grabbing the mulch was getting moved, so they were getting moved along with it. Now, milkweeds grow on a very long root, and if you pull them up this late in the year, usually they are not going to be doing too well. However, they are very strong growers from that root. That root is really prolific. These plants are used to getting nibbled on by rabbits and deer and other wildlife, and they're used to having their stems broken and deteriorate, so that that root is going to use most of its energy this year proliferating and creating a much stronger root base, so then next year it'll shoot up new plants that won't be as large as these plants, but they will be kind of tempered into the ground. And I can give you an example. I transplanted plants this size last year, and these are the plants that are now coming up this year. As you can see, these plants are pretty small. I have a couple that are a bit larger I think those were transplanted a couple years now. So you can kind of see a working habitat where these were transplanted this year. They're gonna kind of die off after this year, come back pretty small next year from the roots. They'll pop up a bit more sporadically than this too. They may not be as clumped. There may be some kind of popping up all over the place because of those rhizomatic roots. And then as you get to the second year, you get those more full, mature milkweeds. And even into third and fourth year, they can get up to 4 or 5 feet. They can get really, really big. So that's kind of something I tell people. If you ever want to transplant milkweeds, try to transplant them really early in the year. Otherwise, they are going to wilt off and look really ugly. If you don't mind them wilting off and looking really ugly, the plant is still alive. It's going to come back next year and be perfectly fine. Make sure that when you do dig it up pretty deep. Get the whole root, like the whole taproot, and a lot of the soil around it. But don't be digging them up in areas that you aren't welcome. You know, if you have them on your property and you need to move them, or a friend has them, feel free to take them. But if they're out in the wild, leave them alone. Let the butterflies have them, and grow them from seed. If you grow milkweed from seed, you can throw it out in the fall and it'll stratify naturally over the winter, and you'll have little shoots coming up in the spring. So there's a little milkweed rant about transplantation. I don't know with the different varieties like butterfly milkweed or world milkweed, what their transplant rates would be like. I would assume that maybe butterfly would be easier because it's a smaller plant. However, it could have a deeper taproot, you know, so it kind of just depends on those taproots. I would assume that the easiest one would be world milkweed, just because it's such a tiny little plant and it usually grows in sand. So that one could be pretty easy to pull out. The other ones, not so much. So be careful when you're transplanting milkweed. If your milkweed looks like this, don't give up on it. It may come back next year. There's your tips and tricks of the day. Happy growing. Help save the monarchs.